Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is an apple that couldn't possibly have fallen farther from the tree. Before he was assassinated, RFK Sr. was known for things like supporting civil rights and battling organized crime. RFK Jr., on the other hand, is best known for things like advocating against measles vaccinations and claiming that Wi-Fi signals allow toxins to enter your brain, and stating that the COVID-19 virus was ethnically targeted to spare Jewish people and Chinese people from infection. So that's a real stand-up guy we're talking about. In a move that involved an unearned amount of confidence that I can't possibly imagine, he decided to run for president as a Democrat, no less. Now, when he first announced that he was running, he was polling around 20% with Democratic primary voters. But the more he talked, the less people liked him, and now he's dipped down to around 12%. So, with no chance of beating Joe Biden in a Democratic primary, he's hinted at the fact that he may run as an independent. Now, I have a ton to say about RFK. I mean, who doesn't? But I'm going to toss it to my man Corey first. Like, what are your thoughts on what's going on here?
First of all, the prospects of RFK Jr. getting anywhere close to the White House is about as scary as anything else we've discussed tonight. However, what I want to say is that this is actually a really troubling development with this whole thing because this actually makes him much more of a dangerous candidate if he runs as an independent as opposed to running for the Democrat nomination. If he runs for the Democrat nomination, he loses, he theoretically goes away. But if he runs as an independent, he can actually siphon off votes from both Biden and Trump because he's running on this anti-vax platform that, it's been 2 years since the pandemic has ended. So for a lot of us, we're not even paying attention to that kind of stuff. But I think people really underestimate just how angry and frustrated so many anti-vaxxers still are from pandemic era politics. They're still upset about, having to have a vax card everywhere they went. They're still upset about what they feel and they perceive has been discrimination against them for not being vaccinated. They're still upset about the shutdowns and the mask and everything you can think of. And even though all of that is no longer a super relevant topic in politics anymore, RFK Jr. is making it relevant. He's playing on that vulnerable base. This is a base of people who believe all kinds of insane things. You just named some of the things that RFK Jr. has talked about, from the Wi-Fi stuff to the, COVID was designed to spare Jewish people and Asian people. It's insane stuff, but a lot of conspiracy theorists and people who inhabit these spaces online believe that sort of thing. And this is the candidate for them. The question is, who is he going to be more dangerous for? Is he going to be more dangerous for Trump or more dangerous for Biden? I personally think he could equally damage both of them, but I think he's more dangerous for Biden because Trump voters are, as crazy as it sounds, they're still enthusiastic about Trump. And all you got to do is take a drive through South Carolina or Alabama or Tennessee to see that there are still a lot of enthusiastic Trump voters. Whereas Biden voters, they're voting for him out of necessity. They want to prevent Trump from getting back in office. He's the lesser of two evils, and that's the real reason why they're going for them. I believe that there are, unfortunately, a bunch of young conspiracy theorist type people out there who could fall for RFK Jr.'s bull, and these people, theoretically, they're not leaning one way or the other either way. And this could be a problem. He could siphon off votes in battleground states that could really, you look at a state like Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Michigan. These were areas that are already battlegrounds for pandemic era politics in the first place. All he needs to do is get 2, 3, 4% of the vote to make it so razor sharp between Trump and Biden that, recounts get involved and all sorts of, chaos ensues because of that. So I think RFK Jr. running as an independent it should be a scary prospect for both Trump and Biden.
What do you think, John?
I think that, and again, so here's what I think about Robert F. Kennedy Jr. He's one of those topics that I try to avoid because it just hurts my mental health. Because it's not like there with him running as independent. I guess like there is some, hey, who's he? Like, you're right. This is a legitimate discussion. He will take 2% of the vote or something, and that will make a difference, unfortunately. But like, yeah, and I do think that he's probably more likely to siphon people away from Trump because I just can't imagine that someone voting like a Democrat voting anti-Trump is going to vote for Robert F. Kennedy because they just want to be anti-Trump. Like all of the votes are going to be either for Biden or anti-Trump. I don't think there's any like anti-Trump votes that could be swung to go for RFK because they know he's not going to win. RFK. Wow, I'm terrible at names today. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. But like what so that's my take on that. But like my real take on Robert F. Kennedy is that, like, when if you got any Always Sunny fans out there, there's an old episode of Always Sunny where their old gym teacher, it comes out that he, you know, sexually had some time with the kids, and the Always Sunny gang is like, well, why didn't you do it for me? Was I not pretty enough? And I think that Robert F. Kennedy has just been like, well, why haven't I been assassinated yet? I got to find the craziest conspiracy theory until I'm right, because it's the only explanation for Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and all of the crock of shit. But what I will say
to the Secret Service agents out there, that was him that said that, not me.
No, real funny. Okay, funny. Do you remember a few months ago when RFK was complaining that he wasn't getting Secret Service protection?
Dude, he complains about it daily.
Do you remember that? And then everyone was like, "Hey, wait a minute, what's going on here?" But I'm sorry, John. Go ahead.
John was saying he complains about it on Twitter daily. Go ahead, John. I'm sorry.
No, I'm just saying, like, I think that the only actual tangible impact that this has is it platforms someone who is putting out very dangerous misinformation. Like, there's a lot of misinformation that I'm just like, no, that's not really dangerous misinformation. But the vaccine misinformation is legitimately, it hurts my soul that we have stepped backwards as a society. And like, let's put COVID to the side. Let's just like put that in a political bubble, whatever. You can say, like, you're wrong if you think that, like, that's whatever the conspiracy theories are, but like, it has caused people to turn against vaccines in general. All of this conspiracy theory is going to kill measles, thousands of people, and it feels like there's nothing we can do about it, and it really fucking sucks.
I want to get to Ryan real quick, but I want to see if I forget that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. was responsible. Linked to dozens of measles deaths in American Samoa, I think it was. There was he was part of this. So there were two babies that died from someone had put in like an expired vaccination. It was incorrect, and it killed two babies who were vaccinated. So his organization moved in and started spreading this disinformation that vaccines are bad. That's why those babies died, not because, you know, medical staff messed up. And then someone came in with measles, and it just decimated American Samoa and killed dozens of children. That's the kind of guy we're dealing with here with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Sorry, Ryan.
Wow, I didn't even hear that story. Damn.
That happened right before the pandemic too, actually. That happened in, like, I think 2019, if I'm not mistaken. Wow.
I hadn't heard that one. Well, first off, I'm just going to co-sign every word that Corey said, because I agree with every single word of that. I'm just going to add in to the Robert F. Kennedy discussion that I think we need to really look at who is backing him and who is supporting him on social media, who's donating to him. Like, you know, we're talking about some pretty extreme right-wing people here. We're talking Michael Flynn. We're talking Steve Bannon. You know, these are people that should tell us everything we need to know. That's not the kind of bipartisanship that we're looking for in an independent or a Democrat. You know, if you're legitimately hanging out with people that needed pardons, presidential pardons, and we're asking for what's it called? Yeah, pardons. Sorry. You know, those aren't the type of people I want supporting somebody I'm voting for. Then I think going back to what Tony said, this dude does not fall any farther from the Kennedy tree. Like, not even just his dad, but like John F. Kennedy Jr., like all of them were fairly liberal individuals. So to see this one guy go against majority of his family and their legacy that they've created, it's just crazy. And then again, watching him plead for Secret Service protection, it's like, hey man, you can't afford your own protection? Like, why do we as taxpayers have to pay for your protection? You know, because you don't meet the criteria that the Secret Service have laid out for protection. So you want special treatment from us, the taxpayers. Like, no, pay for your own fucking protection. And maybe if you didn't spread such crazy conspiracy theories, you wouldn't have people so mad. I shouldn't say it, because I'm not advocating anybody to do that or say that or anything. But it's just, I don't want to pay for his security.
But everyone else who does that has to pay for their own protection. So why is
he special? Yeah, exactly. It's just,
what happened to this guy at the Kennedy family dinners to make him go so far away from the family legacy? Like, I don't understand it. I don't understand it.
what did JFK Jr. do to him? Like, you know, like kick him under the table, throw shit at him. I don't know, but
I mean, I sort of joked about this, but I think there is a legitimate explanation here in that his dad, his grand, like some of the most famous people, most influential people in America, like he's part of the Kennedys. Yeah. And then he's just, nobody gives a shit about him. And so he had to continue acting up and getting crazier and crazier just to get the attention that he thought he was owed. I feel like that's a fairly, again, I'm playing armchair psychology here.
Well,
I've never met the guy, but like feels like a pretty reasonable explanation.
I never met him, but I've seen enough. But so it's funny about the Social Security, the Secret Service thing too, because I don't know if you guys are, my favorite JFK conspiracy theory is that the Secret Service agent shot him on accident. That's my favorite one. And it's
that's the one I wish was true.
Yeah, I know. That is my favorite one, that he was accidentally killed by Secret Service. And so as far as Robert F. Kennedy Sr., his dad, now there's some weird shit that went on with that assassination too, with Sirhan, who killed him. And then there's
my conspiracy things go up about that one every time. Like the hairs on my neck go up.
Yeah,
there's
that was
also
pretty crazy.
Conspiracy that the Secret Service did it in too. So man, maybe you don't want the Secret Service. Like maybe they got it out for you, man. They may be the first ones on the list.
Or maybe he does. He just wants to get assassinated.
That's true. Like, well, how come I'm not good enough? Yeah.
His family legacy.
Two things I'll add there, just off the record. The JFK getting killed by the Secret Service is my absolute favorite conspiracy theory, just because it proves that if that was true, it would prove that we think this government's so clever and the CIA and all this. But no, just some idiot shot him at the wrong time when Lee Harvey Oswald was in the Texas School Book Depository, and that's just our history, just bumbling idiots all the time. But the second thing I'll say is that the weird thing about RFK Jr. is obviously he's running on this anti-vax platform, which I don't think will captivate most people, but I do think it will siphon off some votes in some pretty critical districts. But another thing RFK Jr. is, and I don't know why he hasn't gone down this road already, is that at age 69, he is way younger than anyone else that is like going to be taken serious as far as running for president.
I hate that sentence.
That's so funny.
So at age 69, he might be our youngest choice for president. Next fall.
That's true.
But can we talk about his voice? Who the fuck wants to listen to that guy deliver a State of the Union address? So we're gonna be talking about
buddy, Ryan, your voice is way too powerful for that. That was like Robert F. Kennedy's voice is like that. So I remember when I first heard about RFK Jr. years and years ago, because he was like a big environmental activist from what I remember. Yeah, that's how I remember him learning, like 15 years ago. And I heard him and I was like, dude, what's up with this guy's voice? And I used to make fun of it, but it turns out he got like cancer or something. Like he had something
it's some actual disease. It's an actual disease he has with his esophagus. Crazy.
Yeah, then I felt bad for making fun of him, but not anymore, because fuck that guy.
It's all good.
I don't make fun of it, but I don't want to hear him talk for 30 minutes.
I don't want to hear that for 4 years.
Yeah, I mean, it sucks that he had, but we have to admit, what is one of the things that made Barack Obama so appealing as a candidate and a president? His ability to speak. We hadn't heard an auditor like that since probably JFK, MLK. He was the first person I remember hearing a speech that I got goosebumps. Every time he speaks, it's like I want to listen to him and I'm engaged. And that's what we need from any president. I don't care what party you're in. There has to be this engagement. Like we all used to make fun of George W. Bush because he didn't have that engagement, but what he had was he was able to connect with people on a personal level, and that's what made him popular. Everybody has their thing, but Obama, he just his way to deliver a speech is what made him so powerful as a leader. And Robert F. Kennedy does not have that, and he's never going to have that.
So it's funny you mentioned this, because do you remember whenever people would make fun of Joe Biden and like libs would be like, he has a stutter, right? Sorry. Like the job of the president, half of it is public speaking. And if you're bad at it, it's fair game to be criticized for it. Doesn't mean you're ableist against people with stutters. I'm sorry, like that's part of the job. I hated when people did that. Plus, the people who were making fun of Biden for that, they're not going to give a shit. You're going to say, oh, you're going to make fun of a stutter? Yeah, I am. Yeah. What are you gonna do about it? Yeah, congratulations. Yeah, you win the moral victory. But the truth is the truth. Like, oration skills are a big part of being a politician. But
It is.
I want to talk about one thing I didn't mention. Well, everyone else did, but I want to get around to it about who Kennedy would siphon more votes from, which I think is a decent question because I think the only votes he siphons away from any Democrats are like you. Did we mention The Sopranos? I can't remember which the show we talked about before, but Sopranos. You remember Uncle Junior was in the hospital and he insisted on having the doctor named Kennedy. Like he like,
Yes.
oh, we got, yeah, oh, this is a guy Kennedy.
It's
I
a
want him as
Kennedy.
the doctor. Yeah. So like people who are still in love with Camelot and the
I can see that.
the Kennedy
Name
Kennedy
recognition.
name that
Yeah.
say what?
Name recognition.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's the only reason he pulled as high as he did, because of his name. But as far as like anyone who actually is paying attention to him, I can't imagine any Democrats voting for this guy. I just can't. I mean, I wrote down a list of the latest interviews he has done. RFK Jr., Sean Hannity, Mike Huckabee, Joe Rogan, townhall.com, and my personal favorite, Bitcoin Magazine. Like this guy's entire marketing has been to conservatives, specifically the anti-vax people who are still upset about lockdowns that didn't really happen. I mean, like these minor lockdowns and mask mandates from, like you said, 2 years ago. That's not a galvanizing force in American politics. And I think you're right. It could take away from both, but I think it would take away more from people who would potentially vote for Trump, not necessarily. The Trump voters are voting for Trump. There's no way around it. But people who are in that camp, if they were going to vote, I think would probably vote for Trump. So I don't see it as a huge loss for Biden. But go ahead.
Can I just tell you kind of how I'm looking at it a little bit? Just hearing you talk, I agree that he may not take any votes away from like hardcore Democrats. Mm-hmm. The group that I'm really most concerned about is the moderates. I'm really concerned about the middle, because that's actually a fairly large group going into every election. Mm-hmm. And that's, I think, where we get siphoned away from us. That affects us is we don't get those swing votes from the fence sitters because of somebody like Kennedy, who, like you just pointed out, which is very factually true, he tends to really, his talking points tend to be directed more at conservatives than the Democrats. And I've noticed that, like you just said. So it's going to be really interesting. I'm definitely, I would be lying if I said I wasn't concerned that he's going to affect the votes, because whichever he affects more, I do think he's going to hurt Biden in the end, because I've seen some people supporting him. Some people that I'm really kind of surprised that are. Yeah. And whether it's name recognition, like you said, or whatever their reasons are, it's just it's a little concerning to me personally to see that. So we'll see where it goes. I hope.
I think the biggest concern I would have is if, and I hope this doesn't happen, but if another strong uptick in COVID-19 occurred between now and the election, if we had lockdowns again, if we got back into that cycle, Biden. Well, that will hurt Biden, but that would really help Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
Yeah,
because he would be the one that would just be on that pedestal saying, "Hey, I was here telling you this is going to happen again," and I think he would. But I also think I actually agree, Ryan, that I think that he might actually be more of a problem for Trump in the long run, just because Trump has always tried in a very clever, underhanded way to try to take credit for the vaccines, because he did fund Operation Warp Speed. He is somewhat responsible for that, even though Biden was the one who actually had to do the rollout. Trump was responsible for that, and Trump has been kind of upset with people like DeSantis and some of these guys in the Republican Party who aren't as big on the vaccine, because he wants to get credit for that. He wants to get credit for everything, right? Yep. So if another uptick in COVID-19 occurred, and your choices between Trump, the guy who helped foster the vaccine, and Biden, the guy who helped roll it out, if you're an anti-vaxxer, you might be going for Robert F. Kennedy Jr. just because this is a guy who is the most critical voice in the span of all of that. And so I think if nothing happens with COVID or no pandemic-like thing happens between now and November, I don't think he's a huge factor. But if something like that does happen, he definitely becomes a bigger problem for both people involved.
I agree with that 100%.
Yeah. Isn't it weird that the Republicans love Trump for everything except the vaccine. Like, it is so funny.
The one
watching
thing that he objectively did well.
Yeah.
Like the
yeah,
one
like
thing,
one
right?
of the few things. Yes,
Yeah.
one
Yeah.
of the few things that Trump actually got right, and they hate him for it. And this is like, I just remember seeing this one speech he made where he said that, and we did Operation Warp Speed. We went out and we got the vaccines, and the crowd started booing him. He goes, well, I didn't do any mandates. You got your freedom, but I
he
did
pivoted
make
to
the
Anthony
vaccine.
Fauci. He pivoted to Fauci.
And I remember sitting back, it's like, we've gotten to the point where Donald Trump is the most reasonable Republican in the country. Like that's where we are right now. Like, everyone else is actually crazier than Donald Trump, and it's just so funny that, like, Trump wants so bad to get credit for the vaccine, and he kind of should, but he can't get it. It's like, it's a cruel irony that I love seeing for Trump, but it's just, it's very funny.
Love knowing that it bothers him.
I love it. I know, right?
Yeah, I don't lose any sleep over that.